one of the issues you might run into being in a small shop is clamping panels together and getting everything nice and flat. In my case, I have a 13-inch planer. So if I was to do something like this, for example, and it wasn't perfectly flat, it's not too big of a deal because I can flatten it in a planer. However, when I get to bigger panels like this, I'm not going to be able to run this through my planer, so I would have to hand sand it flat, which can pose some issues. It's really hard to get it perfectly flat hand sanding it. There is some methods you can use, but I think there's another method that makes it much easier, and that's using cauls to help clamp everything flat. So I'll show you how to make those real quick. To make your cauls, you want to use 8-quarter material, preferably something that's really dense. So I like to use hard maple. And since we're going to be actually kind of cutting it down quite a bit, I can use this piece. As you can see, it's pretty messed up. So chances of me using this in anything else is very slim. So I'll go ahead and make a couple cauls out of this, and I'll get it all cleaned up and flattened out, and then, yeah, we can make the cauls. So to start, I'm going to take it to the bandsaw and actually rip it down close to the thickness that I'm going to need for my caul. That'll help remove minimal material on the joining and planing side, just because this has got a really nasty twist. So go ahead and take it to the bandsaw, rip it down a little bit, and we're also going to cut it down to size, then hit this joiner and then to the planer. Our cauls, here's an example piece. These are starting to get pretty used, but I like the cauls to be this way with the clamping. I don't want it to be against the face grain because there's a little more movement this way. I want most of the thickness to be this way. That way when we clamp it down, we have as much material to stop it from flexing as we clamp. So I like to have them about 2.5 inches. So I'll go ahead and rip this down on the bandsaw to about 3 inches. That'll give me about a 1/2 inch to play with to make sure everything's nice and flat. So set my fence to 3 inches. What is this? So we're only going to get 2 out of this.
What?
Huh? Well, yeah, but 2 strips. So I'm actually going to do it a little bit more since I got plenty of material. I got these planed down to 1 3/4 inches. The reason I'm going with that thickness is we're going to put box tape on these, and that'll prevent the wood glue from sticking to the caul. And this tape is 1 7/8 inches wide. We don't want to overlap tape because that'll mess up our clamping pressure that we're going to work on in a minute. So now that I got this planed down to the appropriate thickness, we can take it to the table saw and finish cutting it up.
What?
Really? Okay, now it would make sense to be done now. We got two nice flat sides, and you would think that that would help clamp everything flat. And if this was a shorter caul, that might be the case. But this length and anything really longer, we're going to have to do something to compensate for the fact that this wood is still going to flex. So when we clamp our two cauls down, our clamps are going to be here and here. So all the force that we're applying on the clamping pressure is going to be on the outside of the wood, and there's not going to be as much here. So what we're going to do is we're going to shave a little bit off, and we're going to make almost something like this. Now this is incredibly drastic. You're not going to be able to see the shape when we get done doing this. We're talking about taking maybe a couple thousandths off coming up to the center. That way when we clamp, the middle's touching, and as we apply pressure, the sides are going to clamp down. Again, we're not taking much off, only a couple thousandths off of each side coming to the center. So you can either use a sander for that, or you can use a hand plane. I personally like using hand planes for this, so that's what I'm going to use. But like I said, you can also use a sander. Okay. Another good thing to do now is whatever side that we're not going to be removing material on, just right clamp. Again, you're not really going to notice, unless you sit there and put this on something dead flat and really look at it, which side we're removing material. So just make sure you write something so you know which side is what. Now, if we're going to do it with the sander, I should have wrote clamp on the other side. We're going to do the same thing. Draw your line so we can see where we're removing material from.
No.
So we got our lines here, and we're going to kind of do a motion. We're going to come in here, take a little bit off here, come back, go a little farther, come back, go a little farther, come back, go a little farther. We want to stop here, and we'll say here. And again, we don't want to remove that much material. We're trying to remove maybe a couple thousandths on this side coming up to here. So come in, back, in, back, in, back, in, back, in, back. Same thing here, in, there. Okay. Now if we take this over to a flat surface, okay, so if we got this on a flat surface, I probably got a little heavy on this side. That's a little too much material. It'll be fine. As you can see, it's fine on this side, so I'll just at an angle on this side, which is why I prefer to use a hand plane for this. But this will be fine. So we got just a slight gap, and the gap gets smaller into your center where it's making contact. Now if you try to rock this, you're really not going to get any rock because the gap is so small.
Sure.
Okay.
So with the planer, let's make sure this is perfectly flat first before we draw our marks. I'm just going to take some passes and try to get some nice even ribbons. Okay, so now we're nice and flat. Again, make our marks. Find our center, about right here. That's about where I want to stop. So like the sander, we're going to come in here, do a couple passes at the beginning, so we just start seeing the material get removed. So my pencil lines are barely gone now. My next pass, I'll go a little farther. My next pass I'll go a little farther. I'll turn it around and do the same thing.
I think.
Okay. So we got a nice bevel. We'll come over here to the joiner and see how that looks. Okay, that's how it should look. Okay, so you can barely see gaps here and here, and actually I got some feeler gauges so we can tell you exactly what the gap is. These things are so unnecessarily long.
You didn't.
What we got? 2000s. Okay, we got 2000s up till about right there. 2000s again. Up till right there. Okay, let's figure out what our gap is up top. These feeler gauges are a little ridiculous, so they're kind of hard to work with. Okay, 4000s. Right there. Right there. So we're good. 4000s on the ends, 2000s up to about right here on each side. So that's about what we're looking for. And now we can go test them out. All right, now we can apply our tape. And we just want to be sure that we don't get any creases and everything goes down nice and flat. If you get a crease, just start over because it's going to defeat the whole purpose of what we just did. Get it nice and flat, bend it over, make sure all your full thing is covered because, again, this is going to be clamping on glue. So if you don't got tape, that glue is going to stick to your caul and you're going to have a bad day. So just make sure it's all covered just like that and you're good to go. I'm not clamping these down tight yet. It can, if you clamp them down too tight, it'll impede your clamps going this way. So just get everything loosely clamped first, and then we'll go ahead and tighten everything up. I should be alternating these.
That's the head.
It's just the way it clamps. If you clamp them all the same way, you risk cupping it. If they're clamping in alternate directions, you have a lower risk of it doing that on you. Okay, everything's loosely clamped. Now we can go ahead and tighten these down. Can you bring the camera over here, please? Once you get these nice and clamped down, you'll see your creases pretty much disappear. So with that, we know that we're getting plenty of clamping pressure through the whole caul. And if you run your fingernail here, it's flat. There's a little bit here, and I can just mitigate that with another clamp, but very, very little. This is dead flat. Coming over here, everything's nice and flat. Now we can clamp these in and we'll have a nice flat panel. So minimal sanding to get this where it needs to be. Here you're talking not even 1/1000th of an inch. My fingernail's just getting caught into it. So yeah, these help a lot. I definitely suggest having these. If you have a massive drum sander or wide belt sander, you could probably get away without using one, but unfortunately I don't have that, so I use these on pretty much every panel I glue up.
Tick, tick.